Nope. Yo, what's up? This is the high budget version of Reap Inquisitor using Mageblood. You can still play without Mageblood, but I'm gonna explain how I build around Mageblood. But before we do that, I want to explain something. So I just saw people mentioning, in my Discord, in YouTube, is this Uber Dance build? Why didn't you give credit to him? Something like that. First of all, as I explained, I didn't build this character. Someone just gave me the build and I just tested. This is what I do sometimes. If you watch like 10 of my videos, maybe 2 of them are from other players. I don't own the build. People just trade me their build and say, hey, you wanna try this build, maybe shoot a video. I was like, okay, sure. I don't even ask them what the build is, they just trade me, give me the path of building. I just play it for a couple of hours and give the build back. So I'm not responsible for those kind of stuff, alright? If I do someone else's build, I always mention that. I believe I made Matt Hill's build maybe 2 leagues ago. I always give credit to those guys, obviously. So yeah, that's what I tried to explain. And after that, I asked the guy, actually, because people just ask me, is this Uber Dance build or whatever? I just asked the guy who gave me the build, and he said, no, this is Ruby's build. So as far as I understand, he just said me, by the way, I didn't do any kind of research. I believe this is Ruby's build. He created that, or maybe she, I don't know, the person. I believe Uberdan also plays that. So whatever, if you know anything better, just comment below. I guess people care about this stuff, I don't know. So I am not to blame, alright? If I do those kind of stuff, I always mention the creator, obviously. But if you are following me, you know that if, let's say, I shoot 10 of 10 builds, let's say 10 videos, 2 of them are from random subscribers, maybe 8 of the other builds are probably my builds anyways, because I don't do much of other people's builds usually. Alright, that's enough. Let's just start with the build and explain what's going on. So first of all, if you have a lower budget, check the previous video, because that is like 20-30 Exile budget and still kills Uber bosses and fear, those kind of stuff. Everything you need in this game, pretty much. So what is the difference between this and the previous one? So previous one was just using some random rares, nothing self-crafted, just some basic gear. Because Inquisitor is already a powerful character, he's probably the best character in the game in my opinion. Champion is also very nice, I believe Necromancer, maybe Occultist. I don't know. This is not the place to argue that, but yeah, he is one of the best ascendances in the game. I also have a couple of other guides, maybe in 3.17, you can also go and check those, they are actually updated. So there are some crazy Inquisitor builds in the game, and Inquisitor is definitely one of the characters that you may wanna min-max, because he can do everything. So the main difference between the other one, the previous one, and this one is this build has way more regeneration. That is what you wanna put on an Inquisitor build, so you can actually sustain so much. Plus this one also using Melding of the Flesh, so I can also achieve 90 resistances. Using Mageblood to keep my resists easier, and also abuse Sapphire and Topaz Flask, which are the most common damage types in Uber and other fear, those kind of hard content. Because most monsters deal, most spells, let's say, deal cold and lightning damage, as far as I know. There are not much fire damage, that's why I skipped Ruby Flask, but if you also play with maybe a Ruby Flask instead of other ones, maybe, you can, I believe, also sustain Righteous Fire better. So yeah, in the end, if you also have a Mageblood, try to abuse these kind of elemental flasks, because they actually provide you less damage taken. Especially cold is super important, because there are lots of cold damage dealing bosses in Uber and those kind of imitation content. That's what also we are gonna try to do. So let's just go over the gear. I will explain the main differences, so why I picked this kind of specific gear. First of all, weapon. Again, the stats are +1 gems, spell damage, cast speed, crit multiplier. You don't want any crit chance for this build, because the talent tree already has some, and rest of it comes from brittle actually. This build already deals high amount of damage and easily applies high brittle stack, so you can actually cap your crit. So do not try to put any crit strike chance on your gear, it is a waste of modifier, So what is the difference on this one? This one actually has +2 gems, so even more DPS, and also Hatred Aura effect. Because this is a physical build, also using Hatred Aura. Because Hatred has more cold damage, and also physical as extra cold damage. And if you are familiar with Path of Exile, you know that extra damage actually provides huge DPS compared to most of the other stats. So getting a Hatred Aura effect actually provides even more DPS. If you still have a maybe lower budget, but maybe trying to min-max the previous version, just go for +2 gems. And put spell damage and maybe cast speed. That's gonna be it. You can easily skip Hatred Aura effect, because these kind of weapons are at least 30 exiled, as far as I know. So why there is also another thing to mention about these spell gems, because this also has +1 spell skill gems. It is actually for all spells, so it also applies for our purity, which is something that we use in this version because this is more expensive. Because I'm also using Melding of the Flesh Jewel. So because Purity of Ice, that is what I picked. You can pick any Purity, by the way. It doesn't have to be Purity of Ice, because I haven't got any maximum resist on Talent Tree. So the places that you want to get maximum resists are Shield, Amulet, Purity of your choice, and we also want to get maybe Non-Curse Aura effect to boost the value. Your purity also needs to be level 23, so the gem obviously is 21 level maximum, +1 all spell gems from weapon, so that makes 22, and the final +1 is from your glows prefix or helmet prefix. That is something that you need to put on the crafting bench. So while buying, crafting your glows or helmet, make sure that you actually have an open prefix on one of those, so you actually put +1 socketed AoE gems. And that is where your purity needs to be, so it can actually be level 23 to get that +1 maximum additional resist. And non-curse aura effect is actually gonna scale that. So in the end you can actually hit 90% resistances, because you also use Melding of the Flesh. All of your other elemental resistances are also gonna be 90%. You can also play with 89, 88, it doesn't matter. It depends on your budget, You can just start playing with 87 resist, 86, whatever. So yeah, higher is obviously better, more aura effect obviously better. So yeah, this is about the weapon. Let's just also, because I mentioned aura effect, let's just also explain, maximum resist items at the same time. Shield. So make sure you pick your purity of your choice, if any of your gear has maybe higher cold resist, so maybe you don't need that, just go for Harvest Craft in TFT Discord obviously, and change those to lightning maybe. So this way you can easily use maybe Sapphire Flask on your Mageblood or whatever. You can fix the resist later on. That's what I'm trying to explain. So search for, depending on your purity choice, get a good shield. I just picked +2 all resist because I didn't know what to pick at the start. This is one of the first pieces that I bought for this build. So get a +2 all resist, or maybe +2 fire resist, or maybe cold resist, or lightning resist, alright? Depending on the purity of your choice. Other stats, spell damage, +1 gems. These are the go-to stats for this build. They are the most, DPS providing stats, let's say. You can skip life, because these are kind of shields are actually expensive. But if you also want to put that, obviously life, and maybe resistances, you can easily cap resist from other sources. So main stats on shield, plus resist, spell damage, +1 gem. If you still have maybe open suffix, you can easily put double damage, or I believe spell suppression. I believe that also exists. But those kind of shields are very expensive because, yeah, that's why I picked this. This was way cheaper, let's say. Body armor. So first of all, you can maybe still play with Skin of Lords, those kind of stuff, because that is super cheap and actually provides more DPS. But because I wanted to be tankier, this is what we are trying to do. By the way, this version has a little bit lower DPS, because DPS is already overkill. This is way more tankier. If you maybe still need to have more DPS for some reason, you can obviously go and still play with a Skin of Loyal Lords. If you pick Loyal, you can actually pick some Corrupted, Implicit, obviously, +1 gem, +2 AoE, +2... Let me just check Reap's tags real quick. AoE or Duration Corruptions, yeah. So a Skin of Loyal or Lord actually provides even more DPS. But if you want more life and also some aura effect, so you can actually hit those higher resistances, aura effects, whatever. This is the chest I picked. +1 strength gems, that is what Reap is. We also use Empower. Level 4, this time the previous version actually used level 3 Empower because I wanted to keep that cheaper. My friend wanted to keep that cheaper, yeah. Again, I haven't built that character, that is my friend's build, not mine. Level 4 Empower this time, so in this chest it actually is level 5. So meaning that it actually provides 4 levels to the Reap. So my Reap is right now 29 levels. With the weapon, shield, body armor, empower, all of that. And also non-curse aura effect. So I just searched for +1 strength and non-curse aura. I believe you can Maybe combine those with Awakener Orb if you want to craft your own. There are actually a couple of results on the market. People actually use these kind of chests. Maybe on Reap builds, I don't know. Because I also checked a leaderboard on POE Ninja. People use different stuff. Some people use suppression chests with +1 gems. Some people don't even use those. Some people play with Skin of Lords. The chest choice, body armor choice, depend on you. Whatever you want, I just wanted to get more non-curse aura. Some regeneration, that is also what I searched for. This was very good actually in the end. Because Inquisitor's most important stat is, in my opinion, life regeneration and life regeneration rate. So next piece, let's just check that. A helmet. So first of all, on any rare piece that you can, if you want to min-max, if you want to be tankier, as spell suppression. In the end, I don't have 100%. It is so hard to do that. Some crazy people do that. So yeah, I actually have, let me just check, 62%. Still respectable. I am not also using Quartz Flask. In my opinion, it's a waste of slot. We are already so tank against spells. I don't want more suppression. That's why I picked other flasks actually. You can also use a Quartz Flask and easily go above 80, 70%, 80%. If you have a better suppression gear, if you also put suppression on your body armor, again, it goes up to 100% easily. If you want to do that, go for that. It is no one's business. It is your own character, alright? So yeah. So suppression is very important, and also life regeneration rate. So these two combined are actually super expensive. So here is how to buy and craft your gloves, boots, and helmet. Alright, these three pieces are actually same. I just search for spell suppress, life regeneration rate, and 1 resistance on a gloves, boots, or helmet. Alright, they are the same. Just search for good suffixes, buy something. They are usually like 50 chaos, 40 chaos, because we just searched for suffixes. Prefixes are just shit. No life or whatsoever. We don't care about that. Make sure you buy a non-influenced item. It can be a Searing, Exarch, Eater of World item. It doesn't matter, because that is what we are gonna do later on. But make sure you don't buy any of the older influences, Shaper, Elder, Conquerors. We don't want that, because we cannot fix those items. So yeah, just buy a good suffix base. After that, I just use a Searing Exarch, Ember, Ecor, whatever that is. Put Searing Exarch on the item. If the item also has a Eater of Worlds already, make sure you use a lesser Eater of Worlds and a higher Searing Exarch. So in the end, you need to make sure that Searing Exarch modifiers are actually dominant, meaning it has a higher tier. After that, I use Eldritch Chaos Orb. And just use until I hit life on the item, or maybe open prefix, whatever you want on that piece. That is how I fixed all my pieces. None of these cost that much actually. If you just search for huge life, spell suppress, life regeneration rate, all high tiers by the way, tier 1 or 2 let's say. Also some good resist. Those items are super expensive and sometimes doesn't even exist. That's why I highly suggest you to craft your own items like this. This is way cheaper and effective in my opinion. Chaos orbs are, I believe, 35 chaos each, so each attempt will cost you at least 35 chaos, but you usually hit something in 10 tries maybe. So let's say 2, maybe 3 exalt. Yeah. And that is how I crafted all my pieces, all of these 3 pieces that you are seeing on the screen. After that, I just use obviously Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch currencies to put some good implicits. On gloves, I want more suppression. And also Unnerve, this is super important for more DPS. Unnerve applies 10% increased damage taken. You also want open prefix on gloves and helmet, by the way, as I explained earlier. But this way, actually, if you craft your own gloves, you need to put physical damage convert to cold, because that is how we actually convert 100%. Rest of it comes from Watcher's Eye, goes up to 40%. And also Cold Mastery on Talentry, again 40%, so that makes 80% total. Watcher's Eye obviously needs to be a maximum roll if you want to do that, so let's say 35% roll Watcher's Eye, so that makes 75%, and that means that you need 25% conversion on your gloves maybe. Or if you have a higher Watcher's Eye, maybe 40%, it means that you actually need 20% conversion on your gloves. The good thing is you can actually craft 20% at least conversion on the bench, so that's actually good for this build. So you can easily cap your conversion, 100% cold conversion. So if you craft your gloves, again, you need that open prefix. So that means that you also need an open prefix on your helmet. So you can actually put that +1 AoE. And that is where purity is gonna be, because it can actually be 23 levels. But if you buy a random gloves from another player with already the conversion on it, because if people unveil the gloves from June, they can actually hit that convert, and that is actually a normal modifier, not bench craft. So if you buy a gloves like that, you can actually craft +1 AoE on the bench yourself, because that gloves already has the conversion. So if you have that kind of gloves, you can put purity in your gloves. But if you craft your own gloves like I did, you need to put it on your helmet, alright? That's it. Make sure in the end one of your pieces have +1 gems, AoE gems, so you can actually put that purity for that 23 purity. That's it. So yeah, and finally boots and the other implicits, let's just check those. So here's how I crafted boots, by the way, let's just mention that. You can still maybe buy the suffixes and do the thing that I mentioned, or just get the spell suppression fractured boots. There are lots of results. You can maybe use a little bit lower tiers. It's not the end of the world, you know. It depends on your budget. After that, I used Essence of Loathing, the biggest one, so I can actually put 35% avoid ailments. Then Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch again. And I put avoid ailments and action speed. Action speed provides, obviously, cast speed, movement speed, attack speed, those kind of stuff for this build. So this is actually how I kept my avoid ailment chance. Because on my previous version it was a lower budget, I actually had avoid elemental ailments on my shield. This time we also want plus resistances, that's why it is impossible to put that on the shield. That is gonna be super expensive. So that's why our boots actually provides huge avoid ailments. Rest of the elemental avoidance comes from the talent tree actually. A shield mastery point, 20% chance to avoid ailments while holding a shield. And also the arcane sanctuary notable at the top right corner of your talent tree. That actually provides 25%. So 45% on the talent tree. Rest is on the boots actually. So you will say that you actually missed 3% because my boots actually has 17% implicit. By the way, it goes up to like 25%. I believe maybe 30%, I don't know. There are actually higher tiers. This is the lowest tier Eater of Worlds currency actually. No, you normally need 20%. But I actually had a Glorious Vanity Jewel, which you are also gonna use. That actually provided me 3% on one of the small passives. On, you know, strength nodes, whatever. They actually get converted on a Glorious Vanity Jewel. I was actually lucky and hit a 3% avoid ailments. That is why I need 17% on the implicit. But again, if you don't have anything like that, you will need 20%, meaning that you need to use one higher tier Eater of Worlds currency. So yeah, make sure in the end you actually have 100% ailments avoidance. So make sure you craft your boots like that, depending on your Glorious Vanity Jewel. So you are actually gonna be immune to all elemental ailments. That wraps up all the helmet, those kind of, these three items are actually together, let's say. I actually haven't explained the helmet, but again, maximum block charges, obviously. For more DPS, cast speed, code penetration, because this is mostly a build that I used for boss killing. I actually crafted unique enemy is in your presence, I don't know, yeah. Because they actually have higher values. Another thing to mention, now I just remembered it, on helmet, gloves, and boots, you can actually put +1 something resist. Helmet has lightning, gloves, I believe, cold resist. Boots should have fire resist. So if you still are at maybe 89 resistances, if you still need that final +1 kick, if you really care about that 90% resist, consider crafting one of those. But this means that you will actually miss something else. I don't know which influence have those, obviously Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds, one of those. So maybe you need to get rid of that unnerve, I don't know if that is on that side, or maybe you need to get rid of that cast speed, I don't know. But know that there are actually +1 resistances on these three items. So if you pick, let's say, cold resist, if you are using Purity of Vise, maybe you need another gloves implicit, but that means that maybe you will lose some DPS or something else. Alright, don't forget this. Maybe you can do something like that if you really care about that 90% resist. If you have a maybe lower budget gear, maybe you missed some over effect or something. And that's it. Rings. This time I didn't want to cast any curses. That's why I just picked Elemental Weakness, because this is already a build that actually penetrates. This is a cold build, cold conversion build, so you can actually also pick Frostbite Curse. So a ring that has Elemental Weakness or Frostbite. Rest of the stats are still same. Life, cast speed, any missing resistances. You will need a little bit dexterity on this build. So maybe a dexterity or all attributes maybe. Did I say crit multiplier? Maybe that. Yeah. These are good stats on rings. Also, maybe try to get some good cancer resist. That's pretty much it. If you have any open prefix, you can put percentage damage. This build doesn't need any mana cost reduction. Because Reap is a skill that actually consumes life, which we can easily cover up with our regeneration. Amulet is still the same. Only the difference is the Anoint. This time we picked Charisma because we actually reserve more stuff. And we also need that element, non-curse aura effect. So here is how to buy your new amulet, this version, a higher budget. Because this time you actually worry about one maximum resist, because all of the others are going to be equal to that, because we use Melding Auto Flash. So let's say in this build I picked cold resist. That's why I searched for +3 cold resist and just bought the first amulet that I saw. You can see that this actually has -3 maximum lightning resist, which doesn't do anything. Because Melding of Flesh actually locks all your resistances to your highest, which is my cold resist. That's why I just search for cold resist. This way the amulet is actually way cheaper, because I don't have to worry about other rolls. And people actually think that they are actually bad rolls, so that's why they sell it for cheap. So yeah, that is the only difference on the amulet. So make sure you get something depending on your maximum resist choice. And yeah, final piece. If you build around Mageblood, this is gonna be your belt choice. One thing to worry about Mageblood, or maybe other belt, I don't know. So first of all, because this is a leadership price build, that means that your actually highest attributes, in this case, strength and intelligence, needs to be equal. I actually built the talent tree, you know, most people play like this, but again, there are like maybe 50 people on leaderboard, but all of them actually have different trees, you know, depending on what they want actually. So this is the version I used. I actually don't need much of the other stat with this talent tree. Because I already had Mageblood, it provided strength. I actually got exact amount of attributes that I needed. If you don't have a Mageblood, that is probably gonna mean that you need a little bit of strength from somewhere. Because this talent tree actually has higher intelligence and lower strength. So you need to get some strength and actually balance those values. So in the end, your strength and intelligence needs to be equal, so your amulet can actually work. So yeah, belt is a good choice, even though if you don't have a Mageblood. If you already have a Mageblood, make sure you use Blessed Orbs, you know, to roll that implicit, and make sure you have that exact strength that your build needs. I actually played with 31 strength. Maybe you will have the same talent tree items, I don't know. So that is what I picked, 31 strength on my Mageblood. I didn't even use catalysts, because that actually messes things up, I believe. You can maybe use resist catalyst if you do something like that. That's about it. I will just also show the talent tree real quick. Maybe I will show you that glorious vanity, those kind of stuff. But again, unnatural instinct here, same stuff. This is one of the best places for an Inquisitor build. You don't need this. This only provides a little bit more DPS and regeneration, because this gives all the small passives in the radius that we don't have actually. So we actually get all these regeneration nodes here. Area of effect, which is nice for Reap. There are some cast speed here. Also physical damage. Curse effect. That's gonna be pretty much it. You can just buy this later on, because this is 8 Exalt. Glorious Vanity, again same place. Some people use this here. This socket. Because it actually sees these agility and might notables, strength and dexterity. Because it actually converts these to random notables. Because I want to maximize my block chance, I already picked this part here, as you can see. This is also where the shield mastery is, 20% per 20% chance to avoid ailments. So that's why I actually needed this part. So that's another reason I picked my glorious vanity here. So you can just do the same if you want to follow my build. my version, let's say. This is my jewel. The number is correct. I'm just gonna share it with you. I usually don't share these numbers because people just abuse the market, you know, buy all of them, and no one can actually find them later on. So yeah, but this is the exact number. You can just search for it. If you are lucky, maybe you will find one. The reason I picked this, you know, I just bought a couple of bunch, you know, but this was good because this actually had this one here, cold damage and cold leech. Normally this build doesn't have any leech because this is a spell build. You need to get it from somewhere else. On my previous one, I actually had leech. On my gloves implicit, I believe it is Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch, one of those. So if you miss leech, maybe that is what you need to put on your gloves, by the way. You can just, by the way, edit these with right click and just find it here. That is how to edit your own path of building, your jewel. Because once you copy this jewel, these won't come. Path of building don't know what these actually provide. But I actually edited all of those, so my jewel had in the end cold leech. So I can actually use another suffix implicit on my gloves. Some block, armor, block. So actually not bad. Area of effect, these all work for this build, and there is actually, where is that, 3% avoid ailments. That is why my boots have 17%. If you have any elemental avoidance in these small nodes here, let's say, you can actually have a lower implicit on your boots. That is what you need to balance. And finally, I also found non-curse aura effect. Yeah, crazy. So this number here, if you can still find one, just go for that. Again, you can also test that here, maybe. Maybe you can get those non-curse auras here, or maybe even here. But this way, this is not gonna be arcane guarding. It's gonna be something else entirely. But you can still get the mastery. And let's say if this has cold leech, maybe you can also get that. So yeah, but you will obviously lose lots of block, by the way, because this provides good spell block. 72% spell block. Cap is obviously 75. I almost have the cap, you know. This is enough. Yeah. What else? Melding of Flesh, already explained this. A large cluster. So because we play with Mageblood, and also I wanted to focus on more stats on other pieces, especially on items, gloves, boots and helmet, I focused on so much defense, regeneration and spell suppression, as I already explained. That's why I actually only got one resist on each of these pieces, so that make the resist capping a little bit harder. So I highly relied on Topaz and Sapphire Flask actually. Let's just check if they're overcapped. Without... Yeah. I believe I still have kept other resist, but lightning resist is actually shit. So yeah, that is what I am missing on this build, it seems. Yeah, this is it. Let's just save it again. So maybe you can focus on more resistances if you don't have a Mageblood, alright? But if you also have a Mageblood and if you have these kind of jewelry, maybe you didn't want to spend that much on these two pieces. Maybe again you have more defense on your these items, alright? You got the point. If you are missing resistances, long story short, you can maybe get these kind of jewels. But this is for chaos resist actually. I didn't put any elemental resist, by the way. This is how I pushed more chaos resist. I just search for random number passive skills. I don't need 8 passives. I can easily spend more because my character already is high level. That's why I just put increase effect. All attributes, because this build needs dexterity. I wanted to also fix that, but I still have a little bit dexterity on this one, all attributes. And also Mageblood provides it. So you will still need dexterity on somewhere on your jewelry maybe, alright? So that is what I did on this one. I didn't need this final point. Obviously it provides even more chaos resist, but I don't need it, never mind. So yeah, this is something that I used. If you don't have any attribute problems, or maybe chaos resist or anything like that, just use another large cluster. Maybe something that actually provides some notables. This one doesn't have anything. This was cheap, by the way, because no one uses this kind of stuff. I picked the Megalomaniac to fix, where's that? Yeah, this one. Righteous Path. To fix the mana reservation. If you cannot find a good Megalomaniac, get a small, rare cluster. That's it. But if you also do that, you can maybe find some +1 resistances at the same time. There are actually right now like 30 results with some reservation combination with prismatic, this one. What was the other one? I picked cold, so I believe it was anti-freeze. But if you pick fire, I believe that is Molten One's Mark. So you need to search for those on the database, alright? So +1 lightning and +1 fire have actually different names. So there are total of 4 or maybe 5 +1 resist notables. So if you want that final +1, maybe you are at 89, as you can see. Maybe you can get a good megalomaniac like this. Also that has reservation, so you don't even need another small cluster. But as you can see, I have a support here. I can also put a small cluster here. Maybe I can use another megalomaniac jewel to fix those resistances. And also mana reservation. Because without this, as you can see, I cannot play. So you need to fix that mana reservation by using a megalomaniac or a small rare cluster in the end. That's about all the clusters. I believe there is nothing else to explain because everything else is still the same. Some random rare jewels. I wanted to be immune to corrupt blood, that's why I picked this. Good stats for this build: crit multiplier, spell damage, global crit multiplier. Because Reap doesn't have any elemental tag, they are the only 2 multipliers that you can actually get. Global physical damage, life, cast speed while holding shield. I believe that's it. Another jewel, global physical, multiplier, life, cast speed. That's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Again, I don't want to offend anyone, but this is what about the previous question. Again, someone gave me this build. I didn't search and maybe stole someone else's build. Maybe people thought that, you know, I don't do that. So yeah, that is why I don't have any clue about whose build is this. But again, as far as my friend could find, this is Ruby's build. So if you want to give credit to someone, that is Ruby. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to join my Discord. That is where I chat with people. I'll see you later. Bye bye.